Hello and welcome to Esther's Gardening Adventures. I'm Esther and I finally got the netting, the tool and hoops set up for my kale plants to be able to transplant them into their beds. And also I need to transplant out my Paris Island lettuce, and it's all in the same bed, so I thought I'd take you along with me. I'm going to be transplanting them from milk jugs and soda bottles, and I grew them in those bottles using a process called winter sowing. If this is your first time hearing about winter sowing, please check out my Winter Sowing 101 series where I talk about everything you need to know about the process, but basically it's a way of growing seedlings outdoors in those containers instead of indoors under grow lights during the winter and early spring. All right, so everything is ready. Let's go ahead and go out and transplant it up. This is the perfect time of day or type of day to do this. In the backyard here, the tree is providing part shade, dappled sun, because you want the roots of the plants to be as least exposed as possible to bright sunlight. And just like before, the tools I have on hand are, of course, I have the seedlings, a thing of water. Of course, you could use a hose if you want. My trusted, I've only used it once before, but my trusted Hori knife. And I brought the square foot measurer. This is used for square foot gardening. I am using Mel's Mix here, so I can plant these plants a little more, which is like the formal mix Mel Bartholomew recommends for square foot gardening. So I can plant these plants a little closer together than you might do if you don't put all that nutrients in the soil. But I'm hoping this can help me get a sense of distance when I'm planting. The first thing you do is you figure out where you're going to put your plants and how many you have. And you know, the nice thing about having tags on the inside is that you can then put them in the ground. They have multi-purpose for them. And here we have this beautiful Paris Island lettuce. It's, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Oh, it's a tiny one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5. So I may end up giving some away or having some for lunch. And the other container I grew them in. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so actually we may be okay because that gives us 8, and I think that is just right for this bed. If they end up being a little crowded, they'll end up being a little bit smaller, and that's okay. That's part of the gardening experience. Now, what I need to do next is prepare the holes. When I went to my seed exchange training in 2020 last year, there was a lady who talked about transplanting, and she talked about wanting to have the place that you're going to put the lettuces ready, or whatever you're transplanting, ready to go by the time you take them out of their container. So let's go ahead and get that done first. Looks like we have 1, 2. Oh yeah, we'll be good. Maybe even, let's move this, 3, 4. Okay. So that's great. That gives me a sense for where I'm going to put them. And I think I'm just going to do 2 per square. Since we have 4 squares, I can do 2 per square. That'll be 8, and that'll actually give them more room than otherwise. And right now I have a wild raspberry. I do not need to be prickled by you. Thank you very much. Okay. So if I'm going to do 2 per square, then this is the square line here. I don't know if you can see it very well. Kind of where this lettuce is growing over here. Yeah. So we have, I think I'll do 1 here, 1 here. Then I'll do this here and here. This soil is not very even. And here. And then maybe so that this doesn't end up being with them butting up next to each other, I'll do one here and here. And then maybe I'll do the same thing over here. It'll look like a checker. Yeah. It'll look like we're playing dominoes. Okay. I think that'll work. Now let's dig the holes a little bit deeper. The next thing I could do is I could, and I will, put some water. The soil is actually quite moist already, but I am going to put some water in each hole to make sure that the plants have a nice home to start off in, and we will water them at the end, of course. This was something my mom taught me. Maybe you can tell me if you garden all the time if this is a very common practice or if this is unnecessary or what, but I found it works well for me. Looks like some leaves got mixed into the soil, but that's fine. All right, let's do this one first. Now, when I take the seedlings out, assuming that they're grown enough to do this, I try not to squish the plant itself when I can. So, don't get caught up in the soda bottle thing. There we go. Now I'm just trying to get it out without putting too much pressure on the top. And there we go. See that? The roots have developed some, but it's not tightly packed, so I'm going to be careful. And let's get to transplanting this baby. So you can see it's falling apart, and that's okay. I'm going to keep whatever soil I don't use and put it in this bed, but here I go. I'm going to do it over the bed so I don't lose stuff, but I'm just taking the two biggest chunks and just pulling them apart. I'm going to set this down for a second, and literally just putting this guy in here, pushing it down nice, and there we go. One down. Now we've got two, and I purposefully never put one seed on top of the other, and this is why. When they're not on top of each other, they come apart so much easier. And there you go. Right? Now this one's going to be a little trickier because the container's a little bigger, but honestly I prefer milk jugs over the soda bottles because I just find it easier to get everything out. So I'm going to find the middle here, put my hand here. Look at that beautiful, beautiful root system down there. That's really nice. Okay. So as you can see, I kept my hands, so I tried not to squish the seedlings too much. And now we have two easy blocks here. So I'll start off by dividing that. My next thing will be, there's 3 in this one. So I'm taking that one off, putting it next to the hole. And then these two are going to be a little bit trickier, I think. And I'm just going to work them kind of back and forth. And look, came apart really easily. Okay. And then we have these two. Oops, I think I have one more than I expected. Nope, we're good. I counted right, guys. There we go. All right, so I'm going to start off with the ones I just divided. That's a pretty big chunk. There was another baby in this set, guys. There was. That's all right. That is so tiny. Tell you what, I'll put it in this spot right here. We'll see if it grows. We'll see if it grows. I'm such a softie when it comes to little seedlings. Such a softie. I still don't have the heart to toss them too often. Okay, there you go, little guy. Let's see how you do. The kale is a bit trickier because we have to watch it closely when we're transplanting to make sure the cabbage butterfly doesn't sneak in while we're transplanting and lay her eggs on them, for which the whole point of putting down all this netting and all of this would be pointless. So let's get going on it. Just to make the video quicker, and since you saw me doing what I did with the Paris lettuce, I've already prepped the holes for the kale, and so I'm not going to narrate through it. I'll just let you see me transplanting up the kale. I have 9 seedlings. I'm spacing them probably way closer together than I should, but they're in part shade, so honestly, I don't think the kale ever get to the size they do in full shade, and so I think this gamble is okay, because they just never get to the massive size. At least last year they didn't get to the massive size that I've seen in pictures and in videos, because in part shade they just, while they do well, they don't do as well as they could. So I'm spacing them a little bit closer together than you would want to. You'd probably want to do 1 per square foot, or maybe 2 at most, depending on the plant, if you're using Mel Bartholomew's mix. I'm doing close to 3 per 2 square feet, so I'm crowded them together a little bit more. But fingers crossed, it'll all go well. All right, let's get to it. Before I cover it up, let's give you a quick look. Here's the Lacinato kale. We have 4 of those, and we have 5 of the dinosaur kale. All right, let's cover this up quick before the butterfly comes around. All buttoned up and good to go. And there we go. But yay! We have most of our cool weather veggies now in this bed, and we have our peas and other stuff in that bed. So our 2 cool weather, primarily cool weather shade beds are planted up. Oh, that feels like such an accomplishment. All right. Oh, I feel good. Now I need to put the chicken wire back up to keep the rabbits out of the lettuces, and we'll be good to go. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. If you aren't already a subscriber, please consider doing so. And make sure you have that bell button hit so you get alerted when I post new content. And otherwise, I'll see you next time.